start based on where you're at, because everyone's in a little bit different spot. Don't worry about what the person next to you is doing. Not about that you versus you competition. Give yourself some grace that, like, hey, if I need to rest and recover a little bit today, you do that, but then you get back out there the next day, right? Like, keep pushing and know that you're going to hit some hard times. Like, we all hit hard times. And knowing that by doing this, by running, by being with people, by working out, by staying strong and healthy, you're basically building up that resilience to these hard things you're going to hit in life. I know that when the hard things hit, like for us, we've noticed like that's when we get the strongest and grow the most is during those hard times. So don't be afraid of it, like lean into it, and it only makes you stronger as long as you take it and work with it.
Welcome to Athletic Definition. I'm coming to you live today from Studio 30 with my guest, Dr. Connie. Thank you for joining me today.
Glad to be here.
I always like to get started as a little kid. As a little kid, were you active? Did you like to work out? Did your parents encourage it? Or were you like a video game?
Right? I kind of had like both sides to it. My brother was like super into video games, so I'd always try, but like get beat most of the time. But then we were mostly doing things just like climbing trees, going and running around outside. You used to have like the kids on the block that would go ride bikes and stuff together. We did a little bit of sports here and there. Like I grew up playing soccer, softball, and then in high school switched over to like water polo, and I also played the violin and viola. So kind of a good balance of all the things.
Yeah, I think growing up, it's important to try as many different things and sports as well, activities as well. Were your parents really into you participating in organized sports or not really?
They were, but they weren't like pushing us crazy hard. My parents actually for a while when I was growing up were part of World Runners. And so they would do like these like fundraisers going around the track. My mom, like way back, did a like run across the country, a relay race where they like were able to fund a well over in Africa. So it was really cool. Like they had kind of a background of that, but then that just kind of fell off as we were getting older and doing stuff. So running wasn't part of my life really as a kid growing up. It was more just like soccer, softball, those more organized sports.
And then what about when you got into high school? Did you pursue sports in there as well? Or?
Yeah, so I switched over to water polo. I always have like loved swimming, and I'm like, let's try this, let's do this. So I switched to water polo and was doing water polo, orchestra, and then color guard. And so that kind of took up most of my time between all those things. So again, a little bit of a balance between things where we're physically moving, more coordinated like dance, more choreographed, and then other things where we're like in the water, just trying to get through.
Then I've heard that water polo, I never played, it has some of the most intense training out there. How was that experience?
Yeah, it can be pretty intense. There's definitely like being able to tread water with like a medicine ball over your head, and it's I can still tread water pretty well today, even though I haven't done that type of training, but it's for sure intense. And we had some times where even we were doing like morning practice, evening practice, and I learned a lot about like how the body needs to recover in that time frame. I think we got pushed a little too much like morning, evening practice for our preseason, and then we kept it into the season and never really had that recovery time. So there was 1 month where I was like sick for a whole month. Wow. And just couldn't recover. And so that taught me a lot about like what sleep, what rest does for your body. And especially pulling those lessons into like now that I've been running more, like how do I still apply those when I want to get stronger and healthier now?
Oh, that's interesting. So you guys were doing like 2-a-days
for
quite some time.
For a time, yeah. Like it's like, okay, preseason conditioning was cool, and then they kept it going into the season. And plus then I was in those other activities too, so it was just a lot.
And not to fast forward too much, but I know you became a doctor. Water polo, is that the point where you started becoming interested, or as a little kid did you know I always wanted to be a doctor?
Right, that's actually a great question. I started out college actually as a music major, and I was playing the violin and the viola, and I taught color guard at a couple of local high schools. And it wasn't until I'd had some injuries in the past and just been like, my body's strong enough, I can just recover and keep going. But it starts to add up after a while. So when I was 18 was my first like big low back pain episode, and where it was like, okay, cool. And looked like I was in the best shape of my life, but my mechanics weren't good. I didn't have strength in the right areas. And so then I was like, man, I can't walk today. And so you go from like being able to do high level stuff to now, man, I can't walk. And I was like, okay, I just kind of recovered and got better. And then that happened to me again in like 20, 21. And finally I'm like, man, I gotta go see someone. And so I went to a physical therapist, learned more about like what my body actually needed to stay healthy and do all the things I want to do without my back just going out on me. And so that's when I was like, you know what? I've always loved science too. Like maybe we can go over to something that's a little bit not just helping people and playing music, but having more of that interaction one-on-one with people. And for a while, I thought about going to orthopedic surgery. We're like, hey, let's go in there and like actually fix the thing. And I was like, wait a second, what about why the thing got hurt in the first place? And that's when I was like, physical therapy, we're helping people with those mechanics. We're like, all right, if it's your rotator cuff, what happened that rotator cuff got stressed? What's happening at the spine? What's happening at the shoulder blade? All of those things down the chain. And like, let's work on that. So that's really what got me into physical therapy.
That's interesting. I'm sure you have a passion for music if that's what you were going for major, and then injuries, repeated injuries is what intrigued and planted the seed of, I want to be a doctor.
Right? Yeah. And then it's like, man, how can we just help people get through, whether it's like picking up grandkids or going for, a 26-mile run?
After the injuries, or were you working out in between that time at all, or here and there?
Right? It was kind of here and there. I've definitely had some like ups and downs throughout life too. And I would say really the last few years where I've taken everything I've learned from my doctorate, things that I've learned from running, and kind of meshed this all together into like, now let's really be healthy. So I think it was when my daughter's now 3, and when she was like a year and a half, I was like, man, I can't blame this baby weight on her anymore. I can't blame like this not feeling like being fatigued and not feeling good. And so I was like, let's dive deep into not only what I learned from physical therapy, but all these different realms to really be healthy and do better.
And I know that the load to be a physical therapist is a lot. Depending on the college student you speak to, some will be like, I just didn't work out at all while I went to school, and some do. Was that important to you while going to school?
Yes, it was definitely like a grounding spot, especially when I was doing that doctorate program. I would do like different Pilates and strength training. And then when I was in my last year, I was like, man, let's do a half marathon. Like that was my first when I did a half marathon 2015. I did the Nike Women's half marathon in San Francisco, which I don't think they have it anymore, but I've heard they might be bringing it back. But that was where I'm like, you know what? I have better knowledge and better training now. Let me apply that to what I'm doing. And so that running definitely kept me sane while I was going through that, like last little bit of that doctorate program too.
After you graduated, did you right away start practicing or take some time off to go travel the world?
Right? That would have been nice to travel. I actually went right into a residency program, which is not mandatory for physical therapists. So we do your 3-year doctorate, and then a lot of people just like you become a generalist. You know a little bit about everything in terms of like pediatrics, geriatrics, neurology, orthopedics. And so I decided, like, man, let me really specialize in orthopedics and get that much more depth and knowledge. And the cool thing about a residency is like you've got people who are like, you're like, here is my plan for this person. Let's pick it apart. Tell me what I can do better. So that was the awesome thing of having mentors there. And also in like the last year of my clinical doctor, I had some awesome mentors that are like, are we really doing the right thing for this person? Did you really get it right? Are you really thinking about the best thing that you can do right now for them? And so that was a real fun process. It was 2016 and then I finished my residency 2017.
Since you were able to apply everything you learned to the race, how was the race outcome going?
I would say that one, I still didn't have things dialed in the way I would have wanted to like now, but it was way better. Like I got to do the race. I would say the downhills I had not prepped for as much as I should have. I had thought about the uphill at mile 10 or 11. There's a long uphill in that San Francisco race. So it's like we still learned things from that race that we're going to apply to the next one, the next one, the next one.
Yeah, I do remember hearing about that race. Was it a all women race and firemen?
It was like
necklace at the end?
Yeah, it was the Nike Women's, but I think men could sign up too. But it was like you only guaranteed like got in if you were a student, otherwise you were in the lottery. And I'm like, well, this is my last year as a student. Well, let's do this. I got to that guaranteed entry, and they did have like the firefighters handing out the Tiffany's necklaces at the end. So
I do remember that. So what got you so much into running? Would you say you specialize more in helping runners, or do you?
Right. I say we see people from a lot of different conditions, but we definitely understand runners a lot more than like your average physical therapist. And especially like we have some patients come in who like they've seen their doctor and they're like, hey, I have knee pain at mile 6. And they're just like, well, why are you running 6 miles? And it's like, because it does a lot of great things for our body. And really, if we run the right way, it just makes you healthier. And so we definitely specialize more with runners than a lot of kind of our standard counterpart.
When I met you through Claremont Trotters, a nice running organization in the city of Claremont. And at the time, you had a little mobile facility? What would you, a little mobile clinic?
Like a little mobile clinic. Yeah.
Tell us about that. How was that? How long did you do it? And
Right.
would you go to like either events or personally to people's homes?
We would kind of do both. We were first, I was just seeing people in their homes, and I was like, man, if I could just take the whole clinic with me, that would be awesome. So we loaded up a bunch of equipment into a trailer, and I would take it places, and we would just kind of set up for events. Like at Claremont Trotters, we were doing injury screenings, where it was like, hey, if you want us to check anything out, like we like helping you get these little things taken care of before we get into the peak of training season. Cause then it's like, it's too late. And like, not too late. We can still get some good stuff done, but we'd rather take care of some things while they're like a small issue really early so that then you can run your marathon and feel awesome. So I would take it to do events like that at Claremont Trotters, and then even seeing people at their homes. I had some people that were like, "Hey, let's meet at 5:30 a.m." I don't do necessarily 5:30 a.m. anymore, but it's like we were meeting and driving to their house and setting the whole thing up for them. And so we had the mobile clinic for maybe like a year, and then we started renting this space at Studio 30.
And at Studio 30, first time here, very nice little gym. What do you guys do here?
Yeah, so they're the Kettlebell Fit Club, but really there's a lot of different types of exercises that they do. Like some classes are more geared towards battle ropes, some are more like a TRX kettlebell hybrid, and some are more like spin class and strength. So they do 30-minute workouts, which is nice because they're like get in, get out, get what you need. And then a lot of it's very functional and working on like the kettlebell swings to work on like, can you handle that dynamic and that quick load? And versus like the battle ropes where you're in it and holding that position while you're working all the stabilizing muscles of your core and your body. So they do some really fun stuff here.
And then what about you? Can someone come train with you here or?
Oh, for sure. So a lot of times we're doing physical therapy and we're looking at what do you need that day? So for some people, they need more hands-on work where we're working on loosening up the joints, the muscles, and even getting the nerve moving better. And then for other people, it's like, hey, okay, we got those things loosened up pretty quick, but you don't need so much of that. You need more work on your strength, your mechanics. And a lot of times we're looking at, hey, I'm doing this exercise at home, but it doesn't quite feel right. Or I feel on my back, or I'm not sure I'm doing it right. And we come here and we work on how can we get you feeling it in the right spot, the right area, doing it in a way that you're not going to hurt yourself. Like a lot of times we see people doing deadlifts or different single leg squats, and it's like, ooh, if we just make this much of an adjustment, now I feel it. It's like that's what we want. And really teaching loading mechanics too, which is like for walking, for running, it's a little bit different. And we want to make sure that you can move in all three planes of motion and be strong and be stable and have the mobility to do it.
What do you mean by loading mechanics for walking?
So even like walking, when we watch someone walk, we tend to look and analyze their gait. It's like, okay, first thing that's going to happen is your heel is going to hit the ground. And then that heel is going to tilt in a little bit, some pronation. Some pronation is normal. It's almost like the porridge, not too hot, not too cold, but right in the middle. We want that pronation. It's like you get just enough of it, but again, not too little, not too much. So sometimes people don't have enough pronation because that back of the foot, the rear foot is really tight. And so we got to come in and mobilize that joint. So we look at like what is impacting those normal mechanics, which we expect to see, where the foot pronates, then the lower leg comes in a little bit, then the upper leg follows, then the pelvis shifts over. And so there's a sequence of things that should be happening with your walk from one foot all the way up the chain to your neck and all the way down to the other leg. And when we see kinks in those mechanics, and it's like, all right, why is that happening? And then that's where we get to do the detective work of, is it a joint that's tight? Is it a muscle that's not functioning? Or is it weakness that your body's just avoiding? And I've even had people that like their knee pain's on the left, but they have tightness on their inner thigh on the right that's keeping them from loading that and getting from their right foot over to their left foot. So we have to work on the right hip tightness to make that left leg feel better. That's the fun part.
Sometimes when you are just starting off and you hear that, that's really complicated just for walking. And it could be overwhelming. I think probably that's why a lot of people maybe just avoid working out altogether.
Right? Yeah. Because it's like, oh, like that you kind of have that like, oh, what am I supposed to be doing? Am I doing the right form? And a lot of times we tell people, hey, like, let's try it. Let's get into it. Let's see how you do. And then we can make adjustments from there. And there's a lot that you can learn. Honestly, like, go look at some people that you trust online of like, hey, here's what this form should look like. Here are some common mistakes. And that way you have a starting spot of like, if you're working at home by yourself and you have somebody watching you, you can look in the mirror or record yourself on your phone. It's awesome things that we have phones nowadays. That's like you can record and look back at it and be like, I don't know, how did that look? Okay, maybe I could do that a little different.
Yeah, that is the nice part about now. It's like you can go to YouTube, endless resources. I just wanted to get your feedback on that. Now, since your first half marathon, how many races have you done?
Good question. So let me see. I did that one in 2015, and then I kind of had a break, finished school, had some kids, and then got back into it. Official races, I think I've only done a few half marathons since then. We've been adjusting how we're doing them a little bit. Like I took my daughter with me in the stroller for the OC half this year.
Okay.
So OC half last year was I think our first like half back in. So we've done a whole bunch of 5Ks and then we did that for a half. What did we do after that? I'm just saying we did a whole bunch of fun 5Ks. And then when we came back around, we did the LA full, in March. That was my first full marathon. And so that was awesome. A really cool experience with everybody. And we'll definitely be doing it again this year.
I was just about to ask that.
Hey, right? It's like once you do it, you're like, all right, it was tough, but we got this. And so I definitely got back into running too. So I was like, I want to have this where like I'm challenging myself. I'm working on my endurance to that point. That way I can be there to do all the things even for my family. Like my oldest, he has autism and he's a runner. He's just like, it's called eloping where you just run away. And so being at the point where at any moment I'm healthy enough that I could take off and get to, yeah. And he's way better now. I mean, we fast forward a few years and it's like, man, he hasn't done that in a long time. We've been working on all these behavior things, but I wanted to make sure that I was fit enough with my body to be able to handle anything and wrestling them and playing with them and all that stuff too.
Yeah, that's something, I watch constantly different fitness things, and I hear some stats where I think it was like 95% of people won't sprint after 30. That is sick.
Well, we had someone the other day, older gentleman come in and he's like, we're seeing him for something else, but he's like, oh yeah, I went to just run real quick racing against somebody else and I fell down. And I was like, oh, how long has it been since you like run that fast? He's like, oh, a few decades. Like, okay, so that's why, like, if we're not working on these things, if we're never challenging our bodies, all of a sudden we hit a situation we think like, oh, that should be easy. I should be able to do that. Like another one is walking on a curb and balancing. And that's one that like you're like, oh yeah, I was just walking on this curb, and it's like, oh, I haven't done it. I didn't realize how bad I had gotten with my balance. And so if you're not challenging your body in regular ways, then you start losing these things and you don't even know.
Wow. Yeah, I actually do know someone who broke, was it their ankle off a curb?
Right? Just like that slip and fall.
Wow. And so the future marathons that you're going to be doing or races, are they just doing it to stay healthy, or do you have personal goals that now you're trying to actually beat? Now that you did your first LA marathon, is it you versus you in your own time? Or some people are like, I just want to do it.
For sure. I'm definitely looking for like, we're going to have a nice, easy progression of improving year after year. Because we're looking at like, I want to be able to do this for a long time. And I want to make sure I'm doing it in a way that I'm super healthy doing it too. And so, but there's also a component of, it's really important for me of like who I'm bringing along with me. And so for like this last Orange County marathon, when we did it in the stroller, my time was like an hour slower than the year before. But for me, it was so worth it to have my daughter along with me. And it was crazy. We were potty training while we were doing it too, but it almost made it like more fun and memorable.
Or, I mean, technically those are separate PRs. You have your PR, and
Right.
you have like when you're with your daughter.
PR.
And you could try to beat that time. Oh, I'm always looking for
Right.
some little edge to keep me going. Even if I try not to be competitive against other people, but
Right.
against myself, it keeps me motivated to keep trying it. Also, just
Right.
being part of the run community, knowing LA Marathon is in March. To train for that, you have to start in October.
Right.
November, that's when all the food, the good food is around. And if I didn't do that, I would probably eat more. But I'm more cautious, or at least more being aware of what I'm eating, even though it's the holidays, because I know
Right.
in the long run that's keeping me kind of a little bit more accountable to myself and the healthy lifestyle I'm trying to lead.
And it's funny, like when I look at like when we've kind of reassessed of like, hey, how are we doing? How's our health? What are we going to change? It seems to be in that like fall season is when we're like, yeah, well, I could go and eat all that, or I could feel good. And not that we're like 100%, like we're still going to enjoy some dessert here or there, but it's not like, hey, we're loading up on a pumpkin spice latte every single time, every few days.
And for me, it's tamale season that comes around.
Right.
And then technically, there's the holiday parties, which means more alcohol. And then you're supposed to put on more weight during winter time. It's just, for me, since I ran my first LA marathon, when I ran my first LA marathon, the last, I think, mile or mile 20, they had banners of a doctor who started running at, I think, 90. And he
Nice.
ran it till the age he passed away, maybe 6 years later. And his whole message was, it's never too late to start.
Absolutely.
And I thought, stuck in my head since the first marathon. I learned a lot about feet because I'm so much into running, and I hear that most people will fall. And once you fall, I think it's like 70% of people over 60 will fall. Most of them will break their hip. When you're after breaking your hip, you usually are not here. And it all has to do with foot strength. One thing, I've worked at many different gyms, as we were talking before, and you always hear about foundation, but no one ever talks about your feet. No one ever talks about, they talk about your legs, don't skip leg days, but no one is working out feet. And I see too many runners getting hurt. I think it's like 3 out of 4. The numbers are too high. So
Right.
I think bringing on doctors such as yourself to help people figure out, hey, we need to stop ignoring this part of our body. We need to strength train it, work it. I do so many things, but what would you say is something the average person could do to get started?
Yeah, so definitely when we're taking a look at like foot strength, we'll even test people, and it's technically a calf strength test where you're like on one leg and you're going up on your toes and down, doing little heel raises. And a lot of times we're looking for like, where are you putting pressure on your foot as you're going through that? Are you ending up way on the side of your foot and not pushing down? Because that tells us that certain muscles, especially that peroneus longus muscle that comes along the outside, isn't doing its job and what it's supposed to be doing. So even starting to add heel raises, those calf raises into your routine, especially if you can be the heels off the edge of the steps, so you're going down below the level of your toes, that'll help you with the mobility and lengthening of your calf as well as the strength. Because a lot of times we see like, oh my gosh, the calf is so tight. And sometimes you stretch it and stretch it and stretch it and it's not getting better. It's like we have to add that load to the stretch to really get it loosened up. So that's one of the ones that I really like is doing like single leg calf raises off the step. And then when we talk about it for runners, when you think about when you're running, you're landing and your knee is bent. And we expect that knee to bend up to 40 degrees as you're landing and then pushing off. And so if you're doing your calf raises with your knees straight, that's not the position that you need to be in when you're running. And it biases different muscles. So even have people do a bent knee calf raise where that knee's bent to 40 degrees and then you're going up and down on the step, you're going to feel it in different places. And that's going to start really strengthening the muscles in the foot. The soleus muscle is that deeper calf muscle. And a lot of times we're doing exercises that are kind of equally biasing the gastroc, which is the big one, and the soleus that's underneath. And we're forgetting about bending that knee so that soleus is more involved.
Ever since I got the slant board, when I started training with the knees over toe guide, I figured out my soleus. It is so tight. I don't think, and I think I noticed a lot of runners maybe do it, but they're not aware. Like they're putting their foot up against a curve or up against a rock, and I know they're stretching it, but I don't think that they realize you gotta stretch that more often. It's so tight.
Right. And even when you're doing the stretch, you can do it with that knee bent. Like sometimes, a lot of times the knee's bent if you're doing it in front of you, but if you're doing it in back of you, not so much. And then especially even as you're there, push into that ball of the foot and then let that heel go back down. Like do an active stretch there instead of just leaning into it. I'll get way more out of
I do the calf races bent. I do them like at an angle.
it. Yeah.
From there, I do them bent, but it's like a calf raise.
With the slant. And that's
And
it.
you're bent.
Yes.
Your knees are bent. So
Yeah. It's
of course,
relevant.
everything. Yeah, I feel it way differently.
Yeah. And so that slant board just replaces the step because then your heel's already underneath your toes. So you got it. Yeah.
But I'll even do without the step as well. I feel different parts. One thing I learned is I want to be strong in all ranges, not just one range. And I didn't even. It took me so many years to get that concept. I want to be strong in all ranges. I know we're just moving, propelling this way. Unfortunately, I know one of my buddies, he tried to play basketball the other day. He's a runner. He's in good shape.
Yeah.
His Achilles, it messed up.
Right.
So I'm like, how we were talking about, we need to be active. I think I did a show where I looked up during Thanksgiving, more people go to the hospital because they try to play football.
Right.
They're sitting on the couch all year long, and then you go and you try to activate something or use it. And that was actually a word that for a long time didn't really connect with me when all these doctors or fitness people say activate.
Right. The activation.
Activate your glute. And it wasn't until I think my glute was so dead,
Right.
unused, that when I started strengthening it, I'm like, oh, I know what they mean by activate.
Feel it now.
Feel it now. So
Yeah.
maybe that's why it didn't connect. And I love to bring on people who are more knowledgeable than me. They can explain it better. But at the same time, I try to keep it like where it's not overwhelming to people because then
Right.
they don't even hear the message.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And it's finding that like, where can we even like teach, like, what are we expecting from this information? And like, how do we get to like, when we talk about activating the glute, a lot of times I'll work with people and it's like, hey, is it just squeezing the butt? Or is it like we're doing an exercise in a way that we're actually lengthening out that glute muscle? Like a lot of times if we're turning toward that hip, it's going to lengthen out that glute muscle more and you'll start feeling it more. So we even do like little adjustments on certain exercises to make it feel like now I really feel my glute working.
Yes, that's what I think when activate. Definitely popped up from.
Yeah.
What would you recommend for beginning runners who want to start running? What's the basic for them to avoid injury?
Right. To avoid injury, I would say first start off probably slower than you think you should. And a lot of times when people are like getting that like 0 to 5K type training, they're like, I'm just going to go run a mile and see how it goes. And really, if you take like, hey, if I want to do a 5K and say like 30 minutes is going to be my goal, let me start with just a 30-minute walk where I throw in like 1 minute of running here and there, maybe a few times. And then let's bump it to like a minute and a half. And then you just start to fill in those intervals and those gaps. So I'd say that's probably beginning runners. Don't feel like you just have to go and run it all. Like that's definitely a safer way to start and get your body acclimated because your body has to learn to acclimate to things. It's not like, hey, let's just go and get started. And then in terms of strengthening and giving you something to get your body strong, I'd say even a single leg squat where you're on one leg, even maybe holding on to like the kitchen or the bathroom sink and working on going down and up on one leg. That way you're starting to strengthen those muscles and get them used to handling your body weight just on one leg. Because a lot of times we're like, oh, I'm doing squats. It's like, great. You're doing an exercise on two legs. But when you're running, all your body weight is just going on the one leg. We got to get really strong for that. And so that's a really easy one, just holding on so you got your balance and working on going down on one leg and up. And then once you get good at that, then you can add some more weights and other stuff into it too.
I love hearing that because that just confirms what I always tell people. I'm like, I know you're doing squats, which is great. You're getting stronger, but you have an imbalance. I'm like 99% sure you have one leg stronger than the other.
Right.
Depending on the sport. If you plant and one leg's stronger, you're gonna get injured.
And it's so easy to just put just a little bit more weight. And like, unless someone's watching you or you're really recording yourself or looking at yourself in the mirror, it's hard to know. And like, even I'll look at myself sometimes and be like, how am I doing that? Am I doing it okay? Am I not doing it okay? So like, we have to have that feedback too if we want to know that we're doing it right. But for sure, single leg makes it like 100% clear. I have 100% of my weight on this leg, and I know that other leg's not helping me.
Now that's actually how I figured out this leg is stronger, and then I started doing a couple more squats, like 5 more each time, and then it kind of balanced out. It'll always get unbalanced, but still, it's better. It's better than it was before. It was pretty obvious before.
Absolutely. And when you find that like you've got an asymmetric problem, exactly, so like having an asymmetric solution for that. So you're gonna have to load that side a little bit more to help it catch up to the other side.
Well, I would love to talk about shoes with you for a little bit. We were kind of talking about that. I know that's one of the things that, as a beginning runner, shoes. I need shoes before I go run.
Right.
Let me go out and get the cutest looking shoes, or let me go get the shoes that are going to make me 4% faster to be able to compete with someone else.
Right, exactly.
What would you recommend for shoes for newbies?
I would say if you or you're like, I don't know what shoes, I don't know where to start, going and getting like your foot scanned at one of the running shoe stores can give you a really good start on like, what are even like 3 or 4 good shoes that will even fit my foot. And so a lot of times too, if you're going and you're like, oh, I like how that one looks, but it's super narrow and your foot is wider, it's not gonna feel good for your foot. So we want to make sure that we find something that like actually fits the structure of your foot. And then I know I've gotten to certain shoes where I'm like, cool, this is a running shoe. This one's going to be great. And then I wear it and I'm like, that is not supporting my foot in the right ways. So you definitely want something that like, as you're trying it on in the store, it should feel pretty good. It shouldn't feel like, no, I'll just break that in and get used to it. You want to find something that like feels good on your foot. And then I know we were talking about making sure we have enough space for the foot. One of the things that I've been working on too for myself is like, how can I strengthen myself with a shoe that's not quite as supportive? And then when I'm going on those longer runs, I have a shoe that's like gonna hold up and support me better. When we're looking for shoes, yes, make sure that you get one that fits your foot well. Two, make sure it feels good as you're in it and not just like, oh, I'll just learn to love this shoe later. Like, that's not gonna work out for you. Like, find a shoe that feels good when you're in it. And then another thing I do with my patients when we're actually in the shoe store is I'll say, hey, you're going to walk in it, you're going to run with it, and then let's see how you do with a single leg squat in it. If you like squat down on one leg and you're really wobbly, that shoe is probably not the best one for you. If you can switch to a different shoe and all of a sudden you're like, wow, I feel more stable. If I have less pain, I feel like I've got this, that's going to be a better shoe for you. And so I'll actually record them doing a little single leg squat in one shoe and then record them doing it in a different shoe. And I'm like, hey, how did you feel? And then we'll look at the video and like, hey, see how your knee looks on this one? See how your knee looks on that one? That looks way more straight. You're not so wobbly and moving in and out. Or I'm not seeing this like you're falling over at your shoulders and your core's having trouble stabilizing. So when we see that like nice, smooth, like I got this, my foot functions better in this, that's where we want to go. And even when it comes to like custom orthotics, a lot of times we'll learn like here's where exactly where we want the foot with those custom orthotics, but then we find we want to make sure that we're putting something in someone's shoe that makes them move better. So a lot of times I'll even have people just get over the counter ones and then I'll just start adding little pieces in their shoe to like, hey, for your foot on this one side, you just need a little bit more of this. So let's just stick a little extra pad in there right under that spot.
I never thought about actually. Normal walking with the shoes, walking. I've never thought about doing just a little bit of exercise to see how it feels.
Right? Yeah.
I love that. That's good.
And we want to see like the thing that you move the best in is going to give us the best result. And so even when I'm testing people, I'm like, in my mind, it makes sense to put this under your heel on this side. But if we put it just right here, oh, you move that much better. So we're going to put yours right where you move better. And that way you're supported and where you should be.
What do you think about runners who say, "Oh, nothing hurts. I'm fine." Do you think that it's good for them to still go to a doctor when, let's say they've been waiting for a couple of years, no major injury? Should they still go to a doctor to see if they could benefit from it?
So we actually made a run analysis kind of just for those people where we tend to look at like, hey, how are your mechanics? How are you moving? Is it telling us that we have a weakness in an area that we need to address? Is it telling us, hey, if we adjust your running form like this, there's going to be less stress on this area that maybe you've had a pain in the past. Maybe it was like, oh yeah, my knee hurt way back in the day. It's like, all right, well, when we look at your running form, we're seeing that something like if you're more upright at your trunk, that's going to put more load onto your quad and your knee and set you up for knee injuries, especially like we hear about runner's knee a whole lot. Like that's setting you up for runner's knee versus if you have that slight lean forward, then that's going to take less stress. It's going to take stress off your knee and put more work into your glutes and your hamstrings. And so we want to get that nice balance. So things like that we can find from just watching your mechanics. And then we can go in and strength test and do a couple of things to see like, are we even side to side strength wise? Are we getting the right motion from your foot? And that way we break that down and say, yeah, let's keep you healthy and running for longer so we don't have this like risk of these other injuries. And so we actually lay it out in our spreadsheet where it's like high, medium, and low risk of injury.
Okay, that's good. That's helpful. There's a lot of people that if they're blessed enough not to get injured, they're like, I don't need to see a doctor. I don't need this. I think it's always good to get evaluated, but that's something that took me a long time to figure out.
Right.
Especially, I don't know, I've spoke to other doctors and like, guys just don't like coming to the doctor. They avoid it. More women will come to the doctor. According to this doctor, what he told me is like, they'll actually follow the plan. They'll take the medication and the guys won't. So I think it's important, especially if you want to me, it's about longevity.
Absolutely. And especially it's like we try and show you when we go through and like, why is this important? Like this thing can lead to this injury. So let's work on strengthening this. And like, what is that thing that you're going to take home with you to work on this? And so making it where then, okay, then how can we incorporate that into your routine? Because that's another thing, even if like, I know it's good for me, I want to do it, I just have trouble actually doing it. And so we like to pull a lot from like James Clear's book on atomic habits. I love that one because it's like, how do we make these little changes that lead to these long-term successes and these long-term results.
And I wanted to touch a little bit on what are your thoughts on the carbon plated shoes? The big craze.
Yes.
I know so many people buying them.
Yes. And there are definitely, like anything, there's pros and cons to every shoe and every workout out there. There's pros and cons to all of it. So, I mean, pros, it's going to give you more of that spring. It's going to speed you up a little bit. But I've had some people that, like, their husband bought them this awesome shoe and then they went and ran in it. And it's like, man, and then my knee started hurting. And it's like, man, I just can't figure out what else changed. I'm like, okay, well, we look at this shoe and we look at this shoe. This one has a lot more spring to it. That way, you need to have a lot more ability to absorb the shock, and you need to be a lot stronger at the knee and the hip to be able to handle that. So it's like, if you're strong and you're ready for it, great, cool. If we haven't trained for it and all of a sudden we're just, whoop, let me swap out that shoe and replace my old one with one of these super shoes, then we're kind of setting ourselves up for injury. Whereas if you train in it and you're like, I'm going to use it for some interval runs, I'm going to use it for some shorter things, and then gradually build up to the longer runs, and we're doing enough strength training to make sure we really got a foundation to handle it, then sweet, we're good. It's awesome. And I know we're saying, like, it gives you that 4% boosts versus the person next to you who's maybe not in that shoe. But we just got to make sure your body's prepared to handle it. And just like anything, that whenever you introduce something new, you want to make sure that you're not just 0 to 100 in it. You want to gradually give your body that time to adapt. Because the body's awesome at adapting. The body will strengthen things up as you go, but you have to give it a chance. It takes time to build that strength and that foundation.
I agree, because there's no sense in maybe competing with that person next to you, but then you're out for a year because you caused so much damage trying to compete and forcing your body to do something it wasn't quite ready for.
Right.
That other person was ready for it, and even though you competed, they're going to run next week.
Right. And we want to look at like we talked about the longevity of it. It's like, we want to be doing this for years and years to come, because it gives your body such benefits that we don't want you to be out. Like, we don't want you to have to be on the sidelines, because I've been there where I'm out because of an injury and it sucks. Like, we don't want anyone to have to be there.
Do you have a favorite type of patient, either like young kids or maybe pro athletes or just the average Joe that you like to deal with?
Honestly, like, treating families has been my favorite, where, like, we'll have like a dad come in and we'll work on him for something, and then he's like, oh my gosh, I got to bring my wife. And then the wife comes in, we work on her. It's like, hey, you got to check out my son too. And then all of a sudden we've taken this family unit from, like, the dad couldn't walk, the mom could walk only a little bit, having pain, and then we took them both to the point where it's like, hey, now we're out hiking, now we're out running, now we're really feeling good, I can run now, I can hike, I can do all these awesome things. And it changes the whole family dynamic, where instead of we're just sitting inside, we hurt at the end of the day, we're fatigued, we're not able to do anything, it's like, hey, we got home from work and then we went on this hike around this lake. It's like, that's awesome, because then you get that time and that connection. You get so much more than just being able to do it. You get your family time and that connection with people. And then that makes you feel that much better to then when you go to work the next day, you're happier when you get there. And it's really about kind of changing that whole ecosystem. And so I think that's my favorite, when we get to really work on that whole family, getting everybody moving and feeling well.
It's great. And I think for the family, it'll make it easier for, well, one person's going to be active, we're all going to be active. It's not like I'm into this and they're not.
Right?
They're not feeling good. So if everybody's feeling good, everybody wants to do it.
And even in our running communities, it's like you kind of have our, like, group of friends who are going to run clubs too. And it's like, when someone's missing, it's just like that whole, like, wait, we're missing that person, why aren't they here? And it's like everybody has something to give that community. And so it's awesome when we get to, like, hey, everybody gets to show up, everybody gets to run whatever pace feels good for them, but we're all doing it together and we're all supporting each other too. So that's why I love our running communities.
I do too. There's a clip of Usain Bolt, and someone asked him, have you ever ran more than a mile? No.
I was just jogging. You have never run a lap? No? You never ran a lap?
I ran at 800.
But you're easy days. You didn't run even one lap. No.
I don't lap.
And then, of course, I listen to many different podcasts. He's a professor, Andrew Huberman.
I love him.
He mentions that part of his just general health is to run sprints once a week, medium distance, in case you got to run away from a dog or catch a bus, and then longer distance. Now, I know runners, when we start getting, I got a 5K, a marathon, we may neglect certain distances. Do you think it is important to run different distances, or the same boat? It's like, nah.
He's like, we don't need that. Well, and each different distance and like load on your body gives you different benefits, right? So a lot of times when we're going for like those longer, easier runs, that's when we're in like in terms of heart rate zones, we're in that lower heart rate zone. And that's going to give your body different benefits. It's going to make your system more efficient and make you, like when people talk about feeling fatigued, if you have a better functioning, like our little mitochondria, little energy producing engines of your cell, if those are more efficient, you're producing more energy, you're going to feel better throughout the day too. And so that's one thing that you get from that type of exercise. Whereas if you're going the shorter distances, you're going to a higher heart rate, you're pushing harder, you're doing more sprints. That's going to help train you to be able to handle those higher heart rates and that's higher intensities, which is like, yeah, if you got to run away from something, it's nice to have that speed and the ability for your heart to have practiced and worked at that spot too. And so each of those gives you little different benefits. And that's how you up your speed too, is working those shorter distances faster too. They give different things.
They do, and I know this. If you want to get faster, you got to do some sprint work. And just from all the training, I learned about the base. But I don't think that maybe the beginning runner is aware of that. And
Right.
they'll just completely neglect one section. And just for general health, if you're doing it for general health, if you're running just for fun, then you want to be able to sprint when you need to and slow down when you have to.
Right, exactly. You can make it through a longer distance or you can make it through a quick. And it's like, yeah, it gives different things for your body. And I've had people who are like, hey, I'm training for a 5-mile race. Like, I just need to be able to run 5 miles. I'm going to go run it as hard as I can. Every time I go for a run, I'm running 5 miles as fast as I can and just hoping I get faster. And it's not really the most efficient way to go about it. If you have put in those slower runs and then you put in those faster sprints, your 5-mile time is going to get better.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's hard to. I think I'm going to speak for guys, but I think for guys, especially in the beginning, it's like you want to go fast all the time. You feel like if you're not going 100%, you're not really working out.
Right.
It reminds me of Prefontaine or Steve, what was it, the Oregon runner. He always wanted to run fast, until his coach like, you need to slow down. And finally, when he listened, he qualified for the Olympic trials.
Right. It's like we got to balance that out. We can't just go the fastest all the time. Yep. You
Now,
got to give your body that chance too, because if you're going fast as hard as you can all the time, you're setting yourself up for more injuries too. Not only you're missing out on the performance improvements, but you're setting yourself up to then not be able to do it because you get injured.
and looking back on it, I pushed too hard where I could have worked out more
Right.
and gotten stronger instead of just being dead for the rest of the day because I pushed so hard on those long runs that I needed to. And overall, my training could have been more effective, but I learned the hard way and luckily did not get majorly injured or anything like that.
Right. I learned a lot too, like early on in the long runs, that like even how I was fueling wasn't adequate. And then I'm like feeling like when you mentioned like the dead for the rest of the day, I'm like, yeah, I would be like, get home. I'm like, all right, I need to go lay down on the couch, take a nap. And I was like, wait, what am I doing? Like, it's good to every once in a while reflect on like, how am I feeling and what led to that? And then I found like, oh yeah, I need to feel better before and during my runs. And oh yeah, how are we doing with electrolytes? Are we getting enough electrolytes? And things like that, you end up finding like, hey, how I feel afterwards is a reflection on what I've done beforehand. So even if I did the same run, but I fueled better, now I feel better for the rest of the day. Now I can still give to my kids and be there for them when I get home instead of like, mom's gonna go take a nap, sorry.
Since I know so many runners, I see their stories on Instagram and I see the ones that ran with me earlier in the morning. They're out there with their kids, and I'm like, I already know that's a handful. That's
right.
that's tiring and everything. And I'm here laying down on the couch. I'm like, there's something I missed that they're able to do it, and I'm over here laying down on the couch because I'm dead.
Right? Yeah.
Things like that you pay attention to, like, and hopefully you pay attention to and start noticing why are they able to do it in
Right.
not in a negative way or like jealousy. It's like, why are they doing
But like, what can I do?
what can I do? I want to have that energy after my long run.
Right? Yeah. And it's a huge difference, like with that shift. As soon as I'm like, yeah, we're going to really pay attention to our nutrition and what we're putting in. And then even looking at like, if we're going to run a half marathon and burn like 1,500 calories, like how much of that do we need to replace as we go? Because it's like, you get in this like, oh no, I feel good. I'm running. I don't need anything. And then it's like, wait, but how much better would I feel if I had those electrolytes, those fuel, and had time to test it and see what foods work better for your body too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a whole different animal, right? The
Right.
nutrition part.
Right. Yeah.
So do you do just consulting in person now since you got rid of the mobile clinic, or do you do Zoom? Like, let's say I get listeners from all over the world. Someone, I don't know, in India wants to hear Dr. Connie and they like what you said. Are they able to see you through
Yeah.
Zoom or something?
I've had a couple people, we've done some kind of Zoom sessions and we'll go through similar strength assessments. And the nice thing about Zoom is like we're watching them on the camera and saying like, yeah, I still see that difference between your right foot and your left foot and what's going on here. So we do have some Zoom options available. And especially during COVID, that was something we got really good at. And especially the type of physical therapy that we do, where we're looking at your function, we're testing how you're moving, like how are your side to side movements, how are we moving forward and back. That's something that we can see through the camera and say like, okay, what else do we need to work on here?
Yeah, that's such a game changer. I know I was using fitness apps before and I would take video and then upload it and then a coach would get back to me like, you're doing this wrong. Or
Right.
Very helpful versus being the person who doesn't know and then you're just like, well, you're just making Instagram stories.
Right.
About in person, where could someone come and get an assessment from you or work with you?
Yep. So in person, we're here in Rancho Cucamonga. We got the studio. You can always reach out to us and see like, hey, what times are you available? We started opening up some weekend times. That way we've got people like, hey, I can't make it during the week. We got some Saturdays open and we love doing our assessments here because then we also get that hands-on feel of like, all right, how does that joint feel? How does that muscle feel? So we get that extra little benefit of being in person too. And so you can always find us on Instagram. We're at movement_RC there, or you can always look at our website, movsol.com.
Perfect. And I'll throw those on the show notes and the links as well. So if anybody does want to follow you. And then any closing thoughts?
I would say just like start based on where you're at because everyone's in a little bit different spot. Don't worry about what the person next to you is doing. Kind of talk about that you versus you competition. And like give yourself some grace that like, hey, if I need to rest and recover a little bit today, you do that, but then you get back out there the next day, right? Like keep pushing and know that you're going to hit some hard times. Like we all hit hard times. And knowing that by doing this, by running, by being with people, by working out, by staying strong and healthy, you're basically building up that resilience to these hard things you're going to hit in life. And I know that when the hard things hit, like for us, we've noticed like that's when we get the strongest and grow the most is during those hard times. So don't be afraid of it, like lean into it. And it only makes you stronger as long as you take it and work with it.
That is so true. At the moment, it does not feel like I'm learning anything and why this
Yeah.
hurts. But
Right.
once you have a little time that passes and you get to look back, even when it comes to something like working out, you're like last year I couldn't walk, or last year I had knee pain, and now 6 months later I don't. I love when people tell me I lost so much weight or I did something and they're bettering themselves and they're trying to get better. To me, it doesn't matter if you're not the perfect size or whatever. It's just, are you attempting? Are you trying to be active? Are you trying to live a healthier lifestyle?
Absolutely. And all of it builds on each other. So like even if you feel like you're not making a ton of progress now, like putting that consistency in is going to get you there. It takes time and it takes soul work in it. And so being patient with yourself, being patient with the process. I wish it would happen overnight, but it takes time to change the body. It takes time to change the mind, how we're thinking, how we're processing things. So just keep pushing in the right direction and get there.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join me today. And I look forward to possibly having you on in the future, maybe after your LA marathon, we could talk about your experience.
For sure. Training this year is going to be even different than last year. So it's like we're always changing things around and like finding those tweaks and improvements.
Right. And I think especially once you actually experience your first marathon, then it's like, then you can make those proper tweaks. The first time it's like, you think you know, but you don't know until you're hitting the wall, which I do think is avoidable. Yeah, there's so many things that you learn along the way. And each marathon will be different depending, especially I've done day ones, night ones, trail ones.
Yeah, there are some fun trails things going on out here.
Downhill as well. So
yeah,
it's all different things just to keep you motivated and keep going.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. And always making those adjustments, you always get better as you go, right?
Yes.
Sweet. Yeah, thanks for having me. This was awesome.
Oh, thank you.